Hey guys, I'm about to compare three pretty awesome metal amp sims: the Fortin Cali, the Fortin Nameless, the Fortin NTS. At the end, I want you to tell me which tone you like best. Now, all three amp sims are by Neural DSP, and they're all Fortin amp sims, so that's gonna make this little comparison a lot more interesting. Now, before we get started, make sure you're subscribed to my channel and ding that little bell so that you get the notifications every time I release awesome videos like this one. Now, I'm gonna be playing all three amps with my ESP E2 Horizon FR7 guitar. Now that song you just heard is called Dragon's Flame, and it's from my latest album, Masterpeace. Actually, it's the first track. I've got a link in the description below where you can go hear that album on Spotify, iTunes, and all those good places. I'm gonna share with you my personal favorite amp sim for metal that's by Neural DSP and the Fortin suite of amps here. But first, I want to take you quickly through, some of the features of each of these amp sims. Now let's start out with the latest, the Fortin Cali amp. This amp, in my opinion, is a one-trick pony. It's got 3 channels. Now I know I only showed you guys the metal part of this amp, but there's 3 channels on here. I'll do a quick playthrough. You've got a clean channel, which is crystal clear, man. It's an awesome clean sound, but you can kind of get some grit out of that channel as well. Then you got channel 2, which channel 2 can be used from anything from like country or bluesy style music or pop or whatever, all the way to most types of metal. And of course, channel 3 gives you that hardcore metal sound that most of us here are looking for. Now the Fortin Nameless amp, and I believe this was Neural DSP's first Fortin amp sim, or first Fortin amp sim altogether, I think. And if I'm not correct on that, please just leave that in the comments and say, Jason, dude, you're wrong. It was this one, which we're gonna get into that one next. But so the Fortin Nameless here, it's not quite as diverse as the Fortin Cali amp, and of course that's probably by design. However, I do feel like the Fortin Nameless is diverse in its realm of rock and roll and metal tones. In other words, I think you can just really dial down the gain on this amp and get some really nice classic rock and roll and classic metal tones, but you can crank that gain up full on and get some really meaty and beefy metal tones as well. And that high gain metal tone that you get from the Nameless amp, I feel like you can pretty much play any type of genre, subgenre of metal with that. However, I really feel like that the Nameless shines when you're playing thrash metal or classic metal, things like Maiden and Priest, the older Metallica, the Megadeth and Slayer, and I know those are some mixed genres there, but I believe this amp is that diverse that you can get all those types of tones out of it. Alright, so the last amp here, we've got the Fortin NTS amp. Now, I will say one thing about this amp. It is for pure metal music. Now, I think you can cover several different subgenres. In fact, to be honest with you guys, I think you can cover all subgenres of metal with any amp that's built for, metal or high gain tones. A lot of your tone really comes through you and your hands and your technique and just how you play. That topic is for a different video, which I'm going to be making something on that soon, because I feel like us guitar players, I think we just have too much of a fetish with tone and gear and all that stuff. And I think you should really focus more on practicing your instrument, because then you'll develop your own signature tone. Again, topic for another video. So back to the Fortin NTS amp. This is my personal favorite for metal tones. This amp, and wow, I bought this plugin probably a year ago, prior to making this video here. and it's just a beast for metal. I love the saturation from it. I love the clarity of the notes that you get from it. Now I'm talking about, you know, extreme metal, like anything from some of the harder core thrash metal to like my favorite style, which is melodic death metal. So, you know, with that style, there's a lot of that Amon Amarth, you know, alternate picking, those real heavy notes, but then there's also a lot of palm muting and stuff like that as well. You know, I think of bands like Amon Amarth, Arch Enemy, you know, stuff like that. And then, of course, I play a lot of thrash style as well. So I think this Fortin NTS just really caters to my personal style of playing. And, you know, you may feel differently about that for you, and that's okay. But for me, this is my go-to amp. It has been my go-to amp for metal tones. In fact, I've been playing most of what you hear on YouTube over this past year has probably been through this Fortin NTS amp. I do use Bias Amp 2 with Bias FX every now and then, but I'm telling you, this Fortin NTS just, for me, blows every other amp out of the water for metal music in general. So that's my favorite amp, the Fortin NTS. I love it. I love it so much I could eat it. Yum, 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 yum. Actually, after going back and listening to this whole thing, you know, the Nameless could very well be my favorite one. So, you know, tone is one of those things. It's like what you love today might be what you don't love so much tomorrow, and something else will replace that. And then you're back to loving the thing you loved the first time. You get it. We're guitarists. That's just how it goes. Don't forget to check out the links in the description of this YouTube, guys. That's how you can support me and my channel to allow me to keep doing this and making cool videos for you guys. One link goes to my latest album that I talked about earlier. I've also got a free metal guitar practice guide. There's a link to that. So if you haven't gotten that yet, you definitely need to download that. That's an awesome guide, and I'm going to be updating that guide here pretty soon as well. And you'll get the free update once you get that guide. You know, as long as I have your email address, I'll send you the updates. You know, it's free, no charge, no strings attached or anything like that. Lastly, I do have a Patreon. If you'd like to support me there, I do post exclusive content on my Patreon at least twice a month. I'd say about 2, sometimes 3 times a month on there. So that's just another way you guys can support me and what I do here as an independent musician. I'd love to know what your favorite tone is out of these 3 amps. Was it the Fortin Cali? Was it the Fortin Nameless? Or was it the Fortin NTS? Just leave those comments in the description and we can chat more about that. Guys, have an awesome day. Until the next video, keep it metal.